We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Softball Through the Decades. Tonight we have a really special edition. Tonight we get to hear from some of the pioneers of the Bucknell women's softball program, the decade of the 70s leading into the early 80s. And we've got some great guests joining head coach Sarah Caffrey and one of our current players on the Bucknell team, Ava Fairbanks, who's a junior catcher from Culver City, California. So Ava, thank you for being on the call with us tonight. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor for tonight's session. They've done a great job throughout the pandemic, and as always, they do a great job day in and day out with our student athletes here at Bucknell. So thank you to Geisinger. I'm going to get right to it and introduce our guest, and then I'll turn it over to Coach, and we'll have some fun. So our first guest from the class of 1981, and I'm going to use maiden names tonight so that if you know with these folks, you're going to recognize the names. So our first guest is Patty Inchalik. She was from the class of 81, a 3-year letter winner and the team captain in 1981. As a senior, she set a then school record with 126 putouts and did not have an error in 129 fielding chances. Our next class of 1982 is Steph Buck. She was a 4-year letter winner and the team captain in both 1980 and 1982. She hit 500 in 1979 to record the second best single season average in school history. She's a single game record holder for runs scored. She scored 6 runs against Juniata in 1980. She ranks 4th in Bucknell history with a career batting average of .401, and she was a 2-year letter winner and a team captain for the basketball program, as well as playing in the softball program. And our next guest from the class of 1982 as well is Betsy Doyle, a 2-year letter winner and a .444 batting average in 1980. Still ranks as the 5th best single season total in school history. She owns a share of the single game record for hits with 5, also done in that game against Juniata in 1980. She also had RBIs in that game, which is tied for the school's single game mark. So Coach, we've got some of the real pioneers of the program, and I'm excited for this call. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to see you all and welcome to the Zoom call. I'm excited to get to know you guys virtually today. As he said.
Oh, wait a second, Coach. We've got a surprise guest joining the call.
Hey.
So most people don't need,
strange things.
so she may not need an introduction for the folks on this call, but for those of you at home who don't recognize Terrie Grieb, Terrie Grieb arrived at Bucknell in 1978 as a young coach, and 42 years later, she's still a member of the Bucknell administrative team here at Bucknell. She began her career as the volleyball and softball coach, as well as the assistant basketball coach. During the 1980-81 academic year, she was the head coach of all 3 sports, making her the only woman in Bucknell history to coach 3 sports in one season. All told, Grieb served as head volleyball coach from 78 to 84, the head softball coach from 79 to 90, and again from 92 to 2000, the head women's basketball coach in 1980-81, and the assistant women's basketball coach from 1978 to 80 and 1981 to 91. Grieb's greatest success came on the softball diamond, where she became the program's very first varsity head coach in the spring of 1979. She was a 6-time conference coach of the year while amassing a program record 307 victories in 21 seasons. Grieb guided the Bison to the 1997 Patriot League title, and 8 of her former softball players are already enshrined in the Hall of Fame at Bucknell. Grieb was also Bucknell's first varsity volleyball coach and won 90 matches in 7 years with that program, highlighted by a 22-11 season in 1983. So we're going to welcome Terrie Grieb. Now, Coach Caffrey, let's get at it.
I mean, how do you follow that? You just can't. Honestly, like, I'm just happy to be in your presence.
Oh.
All right. So before we get started, I just want to introduce myself officially before we even go. I'm such a small part of this call, but my name is Coach Cy to the girls, actually. My maiden name is Cygrest, and like all softball world, we all have nicknames, right? So I will answer to anything you call me, but usually everyone calls me Cy. And like Todd said, we're really excited to hear you guys talk about your stories, and I've really enjoyed hearing stories about Grieb. So for round one, I wanted to start with, before we get into like the actual questions, wanted to kind of hear about your personal life. Where are you now? What do you do? What did you do if you're retired? I heard some of you kind of talking about that. So what did you do for a living? You know, what's your family like? Just give us kind of a snapshot of, you know, whatever you're willing to share, right? Like, what do you do now? What's it look like? And I'll start with Steph. You're in the top corner of my screen.
All right, well, so I live in Pittsburgh. Go Steelers.
Yeah.
All right, gravy. So actually, I'm a retired pediatrician. My husband and I met at University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine after I left Bucknell, and we are the parents of 3 grown children, all of whom are married. None of whom were living in Pittsburgh pre-pandemic. 2 out of 3 of whom have moved back to Pittsburgh post-pandemic. So thank the good Lord that I was able to retire. But my husband and I were very fortunate to have a really great career, 30 years of, you know, not just caring for patients and families, but also teaching medical students and residents. And so that was a really fulfilling career for me. I'm now, instead of Steph, you can call me Mimi, because I'm the grandmother of the cutest baby, little Miles. He's 8 months old and recently moved back to Pittsburgh from New Haven, Connecticut, where they were living for a while. And my oldest and her wife moved back from London in the midst of the pandemic, and just have 1 child, our son and his wife, living in North Carolina. We are, I would say we're surviving retirement. It's been not exactly the retirement I envisioned, although this year hasn't been the year that I don't think any of us have envisioned. It's been all good stuff with people moving back to the Berg and finding places for people to land and helping to take care of our grandson. So that's what's going on with me.
You're a big golfer.
So I didn't mention my sporting, I've actually played more golf this year than I played since I was in high school. So it's been pretty good too. In fact, I've got this kind of overuse injury in my elbow, Terrie.
Yeah.
I know. It's brutal.
I have golfer's elbow and tennis elbow, and I've never played any of those sports.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what. And then I got this 20-pound grandson that I pick up, and it's even worse. It's tough story.
How getting old, Steph?
Yeah, tell me about it.
So funny. Okay.
I have an injury from walking my dog.
Hey, I got one of those stories to tell you too.
Oh man.
Oh, am I up?
Yeah, Patty, you're next on my screen.
Well, I don't have so nearly as illustrious of a background as Steph, but so I moved to Rochester, New York after graduation. Took a job with Kodak. I majored in chemical engineering. And within a couple of years of when I graduated, I moved into IT from engineering. And then I spent the rest of my career in IT, finishing my career off working for Xerox, which is also in the Rochester area. And I retired a couple of years ago. Been married for 34 years. We have 2 grown sons. As someone mentioned, I think it was Betsy mentioned, I have 1 son that graduated from Carnegie Mellon, which is in Pittsburgh, where Steph lives, and another graduated from the University of Rochester. Both my boys are in software engineering, and they live in Chicago. And I'm completely enjoying retirement, although coronavirus certainly has made it a little less enjoyable than it could be. But we're surviving just fine here. That's it.
All right, Betsy.
Okay, so I'm up next. After Bucknell, I went back to school at RIT in Rochester, and I got another degree in nutrition. And I became a dietitian. I trained in Boston for just a couple of years, and then moved back to Rochester, stayed there a little bit, and then moved to Geneva, which is a small town about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so outside of Rochester. And that's where I am now. I was married, I was divorced, I have 3 adult children. My oldest is a very talented musician mainly in New York State, but he travels New England, Pennsylvania. My middle son was in the Navy, and he's out now, and he's at school in University of California in San Diego, and he's married, doing really well. And then my youngest son is a senior at Pitt. So proud of all of them. They all have very different talents, and they're all good kids. I was very lucky.
All right.
And also what I do. So I am a dietitian. I am the manager at the Finger Lakes VA hospital in this area. So that's my job. I'm not retired yet. I have a couple more years to go.
Awesome. So the next question is, now we're diving in. So take us back to the very beginning. I know recruiting was extremely different. So talk to us a little bit about your recruiting experience, or just how you ended up at Bucknell playing softball and ultimately on this call today. So tell us a little bit about how it all started and how you ended up there. And we can start back with Steph.
So I went to school to go to medical school. I didn't go to school to play sports, although I had played a lot of softball and basketball and golf growing up, and actually intentionally went to Bucknell to avoid that type of a distraction. And about a month into being a freshman, I was bored out of my mind and heard that there were basketball tryouts. So I thought, what the heck, it'll give me something to do. And that's where I met Terrie Grieb, who was the defensive coach, as I recall, Terrie, in those days. And I remember, so I was not recruited to play basketball. Nobody would recruit me to play basketball. And Terrie made a comment to me at a practice one day and said, "Hey, do you play softball?" And I was like, yeah, I play softball. And she's like, we have a softball team. I'm like, no, why would I know that you have a softball? Who goes to Bucknell to play softball? Seriously. And so that was my recruitment. Seriously, Terrie, as I recall, at a practice for basketball. So that's how I ended up playing softball.
All right, Patty.
Nobody got recruited back then.
No, nobody. No, there was not such a thing.
Yeah,
you just showed up. That's what I was gonna say. There was no such thing.
Yeah, or if you had a friend who was a friend of a friend, and you're like, oh, okay, that sounds good, and you would just go.
Yeah, let's go play softball.
I'd walk around campus and see who looked like they were an athlete and then try and steal them.
Yeah, I'm the same as Steph. I went to Bucknell for academics. Sports was secondary. And when I won't say I was bored, but once I got there, then I looked around for something to do. And I think all the sports except maybe basketball were club at that point. I know for sure the volleyball team was club because I played on that. And the softball team was club because I played on that. I did not play on the basketball team, even though I played in high school. I think softball became varsity maybe my junior year. I'm not sure. Sophomore year? Sophomore year? Oh, okay.
My freshman year.
Freshman year? Okay. So if Abby had been on the call, Abby was a year or two older than I am. So so she would have been there for all the club part. At any rate, so there was no recruiting. I picked Bucknell solely for academics, and then just played softball and volleyball for a season, and other sports that I did, some cross country and track I did as well, and it was just secondary to the academics.
Betsy.
So I know I'm supposed to say I went there for the academics, but I wasn't as smart as these two. So I went there, I was okay, but I was not a 4.0 like some of these people. And so I remember visiting colleges with my mother and being on the quad, and it must have been the spring because the cherry blossoms were blossoming, and there was a beautiful sunset. And my mother and I looked at each other and said, wow, this is really nice here. And I was like, okay, I'll go here. And so I went to Bucknell. I played field hockey also. I can't say that I was recruited for that, but they knew about me. So maybe I was, I know, like I never had any contact before I went. So I played field hockey, and like we were saying before, like a lot of people knew each other. You know, there's a lot of women there. I'm not so sure about the men, but a lot of women, if they were a good athlete, they played on different teams. And so like I had a roommate who was a basketball player. You know, she knew Steph, she knew Jill Henry, you know, they played. I wanted to play softball because I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like it was how like recruiting is these days. You showed up and you say, okay, I'd like to play. And, yep. And they gave you blue cleats. I got to put that in. That's what I remember, having a pair of blue cleats.
Really? Gosh, I don't remember that. I don't remember
The
that.
reason why I remember it was because years later, my mother had a tag sale and she sold those blue cleats.
Are you sure they were for softball?
Yeah,
Positive.
I remember.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, who was your roommate?
Who was your roommate?
Ann Barry.
Oh, Ann
yeah.
Barry. Yeah, really good basketball player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So was her brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I think this next question will really take you guys back. This will be fun for Ava. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like to be on the first varsity softball team at Bucknell, and where was the field? What were the uniforms like? What was the travel like? Length of season? Give us all the details. I will
Check out this picture.
Oh, there you go.
Eric shared a lot of really, really awesome pictures. So I know the hair is something that needs to come back. Like the hairstyles were awesome.
My hair's
Look at the
same.
fence. Look at that fence. Do you see it?
I love
It's
it.
a snow fence.
Greeby,
put it
Greeby,
back
get
up.
down. Greeby, get down.
again.
Show
What?
where my glove is. Show where my glove is. Okay,
You were digging dirt.
that's grass.
That's grass. It was a grass infield.
Grass.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
I can't think of the name of the pitcher. It started with a C.
Cindy Conley.
Cindy
Yep,
Conley.
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, and her sister was on the team. Okay.
Oh boy. Pictures.
Oh, so those uniforms were hideous.
All right, look at Patty's hair in the back row. She's sitting beside me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at those
You can see my
collars.
hair.
There's Betsy's hair.
I had big hair.
Haircut.
Steph's got the same haircut.
I do.
I mean, it works, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Was
me too.
that hairspray?
Okay,
or
you
like
guys remember this
ghost?
person?
Allie, yeah.
Allie.
Oh,
I had to tell Todd the story about her.
I hadn't even heard about it until relatively recently, actually.
Yeah, I still,
Sad, very sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just took that away from you.
No, but I was going to bring up the uniforms. The uniforms were hideous.
Yes, they
Remember
were.
the material?
Yes.
The material was like,
Oh, it's
Awful.
horrible.
polyester, like it was
Yeah.
god awful.
Yeah. They itched.
Oh, they itched. They looked bad. They fit poorly. The colors were terrible. It was hideous.
Trifecta there.
And I guess we had blue shoes. I totally forgot that bit.
I still don't remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, this
I
is
wish
a new
I had
color, but
those.
they were blue.
I
Yeah.
forgot.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
I can't believe you don't remember the shoes.
No,
Don't.
I couldn't get over the damn
Uniform.
collar. It was horrible.
Jackie Crump loved those blue shoes.
I know.
Oh, Jackie
He
Crump.
loved everything.
Jackie Crump, there's a name for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should have put that up there and given us a quiz.
Yeah, just point to faces.
I bet I
Who
couldn't.
was the girl that was from Washington State? Remember when
Jackie Crump. Oh, she was from Oregon.
Who?
no, when the Mount St. Helen went, that was where she was from.
What position did she play?
I don't
Third.
remember.
Third base, infield.
Jackie Crump, I thought, was from Oregon. She was out that way.
Was she?
She's out west. She
Yeah.
had she always looked tanned. Always.
Yeah, no, I
She
remember who
was-
she was.
Let me tell you, Greeby. Jackie Crump was from Lake Oswego.
I don't know.
Okay,
California.
okay.
Todd can probably look it up.
That's where she was from.
Okay, so show the picture, Terry, to Ava, coach, of the bench and the scorers table. Do you have that one? So they,
Did we have a bench and a scorer's table?
We had a bench.
We had like a.
it was basically just a table.
I don't know about a scorer's table though.
There you go. It's
There.
about it.
Wait, let me see. Put it
Oh,
up.
look at this.
Yeah, we had that bleacher.
I don't see it.
They're
There's a
sitting on it. That's the
Don
scorers
Becker
table.
is sitting on a table. It's just a yellow table. Yeah. And it's where the baseball field was.
Good times.
Yeah, it was back behind the mods. Are the
Yeah.
mods still there?
The mods
Yeah.
are still a thing, yeah.
Okay.
I lived in them last year.
Now that
Are they
used to
the
be
same
senior
buildings from
only.
the 70s or are they new?
Same ones, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Well, they've been
mine was
renovated, but-
renovated.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
renovated like a select few because there's mold in them. So I guess I was lucky enough to have one that had mold to get renovated.
No.
It was
so
nice.
they're not upper class housing anymore?
Usually like majority sophomores and juniors live in them. I got
Okay.
hooked up by a junior last year, so that's how I got into a mod.
That was all senior housing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had to have
Yeah.
you had to have a good number too.
Yeah.
The
Get in
mods.
there.
And we always like someone on the team to be in there because we could have a bathroom.
Yeah, I was in one, so
There was no bathroom at the field.
Oh, no.
No.
Dirt.
there was no nothing.
No bathroom.
I pee like once a practice. That would be so inconvenient for me.
Well, we had a cornfield.
Yeah, we did.
That
You could go to the corn.
concerning, but we've had a recent bout of a little bit of a stomach bug, and I'm thinking if we didn't have a bathroom currently, this weekend might have been a little rough for us at practice because we had a lot of coming and going from our little bathroom. So I respect it though. You guys must have not hydrated at all so that you could get through a game without
Hydrating wasn't a thing back then.
We didn't have water.
I love
Yeah,
that. Water's
that was
the-
invented later.
I love
We
that.
didn't even have enough socks to go around. If a sub was going to go in, we'd have to take stirrup socks off of a player that came out and put them on to go out.
You know what? With all these, factories being shut down, we might be in the same boat with all the stuff we're missing from Adidas. So it's okay. I'm just kidding. Okay, I think Ava's
Not
gonna
really.
ask you guys the next question.
My question is, what advice would you give me or any of the other players that are in the softball program today about the college experience at Bucknell, including softball? We can start off with Steph. We'll go in the same order.
I think that's really such an interesting question. You know, as somebody who went to college to do something completely different, and softball was something that happened along the way. I have to admit, though, there were things that I did learn, in those experiences. Probably the most important thing that it helped me with my future was good time management skills. Because balancing the academics at Bucknell and also playing sports, which was really a lot of fun, like probably more fun than we should have been able to have, but still focusing on, what we were really there for. But I mean, I think that, let's be honest. I mean, a career in softball isn't going to be launched at Bucknell, right? I mean, you're going to go somewhere else with your career. So I think learning, the time management and just not taking yourself too seriously, really just enjoying the experience because, obviously, I mean, Patty and I mean, when's the last time we talked? I don't even remember. Maybe 40 years ago. It's been a while.
I was gonna say 80s maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are, really valuable experiences with people that you've likely never met before and aren't going to really see that much. But boy, I mean, we have some really great shared experiences from back then. So I would say enjoy it.
Definitely, really. I feel like The time management really hit me hard my freshman year, especially that first semester was a big adjustment period, but I've gotten better every year. So, Patty.
So I would echo a lot of what Steph said. For at least 2 out of the 3 of us, we went there because we were looking to get the academics that we wanted. So my focus there was academics, and softball was and other sports were a distant second. But if I hadn't had them, I wouldn't have enjoyed college nearly so much, because as an engineer, the work was really, really demanding. And softball and the other sports gave me a break, even if a lot of times I thought I didn't have the time for it. I got out there, and at least for a few hours a day, I wasn't thinking about all the work that I had to do. And probably some of the fondest memories I have are from softball or one of the other sports that I participated in, as opposed to remembering, gee, remember that 95 I got on that test or whatever. So definitely enjoy it, because once you're out, there really aren't, or maybe there are, maybe I'm dating myself, maybe there are a lot of competitive opportunities out there, but once I got out, other than playing some sports on my own, I really didn't organize sports anymore after that, and that was okay. So enjoy it while you're there, and your life will be completely different afterwards, after college. But just like college is completely different than high school, it'll be a good different.
I can't really imagine my life without softball.
I couldn't have.
Since I was 5, I've always had a weekend obligation.
In fact, when I was looking for a company to take a job with, believe it or not, I had a whole bunch of job offers. It was a good job market back then. I had a whole bunch of job offers, and the company that I picked to go work for, because they said they would let me play in the men's softball league. I'm serious. Wow. Because back then, the women's leagues that were, it's like the equivalent of playing picnic volleyball. You can imagine it was nothing like competitive softball. And they said I would be able to play on the men's teams as long as I was good enough. So I said, okay, I'm sold. I went there, and I did that for a few years, and then got married and had kids, and that was it.
Nice. Betsy?
So something that Patty just said kind of struck a chord with me. Like, when you're in sports and competitive sports, and at the high level that you're playing, the competitiveness of that, and you're with all these other women that are really competitive, when you get out in the real world, you might not find that, but it's really going to serve you well. Keep that with you. You might not be playing softball, but you're still going to have that competitiveness at the core of you, and that's going to, whatever you do, that's going to take you far. So,
can I jump in and tell a funny story?
Of course.
Okay, so along the lines of, you get out there and there aren't all that many, or at least back then there weren't all that many competitive women. So my husband and I went on our honeymoon, and it was one of these honeymoon places where it was nothing but people on their honeymoon. So one afternoon they had volleyball. So I show up for volleyball, and and my husband sets me, and I spike it. I just cream something on the other side of the net. And all the women jump away. You can imagine. My husband looks at me and says, I think you got to tone it down a little bit here.
I love that. I can't play any sports with my husband, or it never ends well. So we don't even play cornhole or anything together, because it just gets ugly. So this should be a really fun question. Is obviously you guys all played for Hall of Fame head coach Terrie Grieb. Can you share your favorite Grieb story? I'm so excited to hear these.
No, we probably can't.
And you might not be able to share it on this call.
All right, well, before you go any further, before you get to Betsy, I looked all day for this picture of you standing behind the van, you and Steph and Allie Brown.
Steph has
Put
that
this
picture.
sign on the back of the van. We drove to a game.
It's like home for unwed mothers or something.
Correct.
Thank
Bucknell's
you.
home for unwed mothers. We
mothers,
drove
yes.
to a game with that on the back.
Did you get in
I
trouble?
forgot all about that.
Did you get in trouble, Terry?
No, never did.
Okay.
But I had the picture somewhere, and when I find it, I'm gonna like post it on my Facebook.
Steph, you have that picture, don't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is,
That was
Steph lived
another
down the
time.
street. Steph lived down the street from me, and you were here in the summers too, because we played ball
Oh, yeah,
and we did some climbing
we did. Near Kmart, I remember.
near Kmart. They have a big cliff. And what was the name of your dog?
Remember that.
What
Cliffy.
was the name of your dog?
Cliff.
Cliffy.
Cliffy.
Yeah, went, got him at the, yeah. I thought that would be the story you would kind of skirt around.
I think we should switch this around and Terry should tell stories about each one of us instead of the other way around.
Oh, geez.
Well, that would be my Steph story, was the cliff. That, I mean, that was traumatic. That's all we're gonna say about it. And then yours was the sign. Who actually came up with the sign?
I think Allie Brown.
You think Allie?
Brown. I don't know.
Allie blamed you.
Me?
If I recall, Allie blamed you.
Blamed me or blamed Steph?
No, that's a you.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, you were the three
Seriously,
that are on
I don't
something on
remember.
the picture.
It's all possible, though.
And Patty, did we call you 4-0 Patty?
Probably.
If you did, I don't remember
I think
it.
we did.
If I did, I don't remember it. If you did.
Yeah,
There was a lot of really smart people on that team.
Yeah. You're downgrading yourself. Like you weren't.
No, I was a good student, but I wasn't there to. I had no career focus. Like they were there with a career focus. I had
When you
none.
played two sports. Oh, Steph, you played two sports too, but sort of.
No, I would do stupid stuff like I remember freshman year I struggled in calculus. So and I didn't need to take calculus, but instead of dropping it, I decided I was gonna conquer calculus. So I kept taking it. It was stupid. And they shouldn't have taken it. Like who takes calculus just to prove a point?
For fun.
Yeah, no.
I took it for a requirement. Like I didn't need it for my major. I took a W on it. I had to drop it. My first exam grade told me that it was done. And I'm okay with it. I like writing essays. Writing is cool.
Yeah.
Equations.
Not so much.
So
Not
I
my
was
cup
gonna
of tea.
I was gonna tell a nice story about Griebe.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Because
There is
there's
one?
a lot of other stories, Terry, that I'm not gonna tell. Because I mean,
Gotta go.
I think if you were paying attention to Todd's intro, 78, you started, I would have been 18, you would have been 23. Like, who thought that was a good idea, Terry? Seriously.
I remember even at the time, it seemed like you were just one of us.
Exactly. Well, okay. Anyway, let's just put that over here. And, after the question about do you play softball, it became apparent to me that this was a fast pitch softball team, and I only played slow pitch. And so I mentioned to Terry, Terry, I've never played fast pitch. And she's like, oh, it's fine. And we went to the batting cage one day, and Terrie Grieb had that damn, pitching machine that she just ramped it up faster and faster and faster, and basically taught me how to hit a fast pitch, which I had never
And
done.
you learned, and you did well.
Yeah, and it turns out I figured out, you kept me in there long enough, and I got smacked enough in the head that I figured out how to hit it. So hats off to you, Terrie Grieb. You probably don't even remember that one.
I don't. I do remember that you played slow pitch because we played some summer ball.
Yeah, well, we did that too, but it was quite an afternoon, as I recall.
Steph, do you think you could play fast pitch now?
No,
Like fast pitch, like softball now isn't like softball. when we
no,
played.
no, no, no. There's no way. I
Yeah.
mean, plus
Yeah.
I wear glasses now and I would never even bother, but I mean, no, it's just a totally different game. And I mean, you know, you mentioned Ava that you know, your time management, I'm assuming you also had some softball responsibilities in the fall. So the thing about back then was like literally every sport just had their season. So, you know, nothing happened for softball in the fall. Nothing. I mean,
The fall freshman, my freshman year hit me the hardest with going. We had the first day of classes off, and then that Tuesday, my coach was like 20-hour week start, and I was like, oh, like it's just 20 hours. Like it didn't really hit me until I saw my Google Calendar all blocked up, and
20 hours of practice?
yeah,
Oh my
of like
God.
a regulated softball per week.
We had no rules. We had no NCAA rules.
That could be
If
good
I
or
wanted-
bad.
If I wanted to practice them 35 hours, I probably would have been allowed to.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
wouldn't have showed up.
yeah, I was
No,
gonna
we
say,
didn't, let's be honest.
Well, they didn't have lifting and all the other stuff. Like,
No.
It's not 20 hours of softball. It's actually like 20. It's less than, it's about 25 of, or sorry, no, it's 15 of softball and like 5 are for
yeah.
conditioning. So it's not, it's very different.
Yeah.
we also didn't play as many games. Todd,
Yeah.
what was that first year's record? 6-2 or 8-4 or like?
Yeah, it was definitely less than 20 games, maybe.
I was gonna say I looked that up. Super interesting.
I think most of those were actually losing seasons, Terry, as I recall.
yeah, I think so too. That's my recollection.
I don't know. Todd was reading them to me. I was like, oh, really?
I feel like,
I feel like we lost most of our games.
I thought we were like 12-2, but I think we were more like 2-12.
Can't tell you. Numbers just run. It's too long ago.
I don't know, it was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
That first year, you were 8-4.
Oh, man, and then we went, right?
That was 1979, and in
Yeah.
1980, you were 7-8.
Oh, not so bad. Then what happened?
1981, you were 7-10,
Ooh.
and 1982, you were 6-11.
Oh,
Ew.
I have a question.
And why are we on this call?
Yeah,
Because you're my favorites.
what's your question, Ava?
I don't know what comes first, the wins or the losses. I just hear numbers.
the wins
Wins.
Oh,
come first.
Yeah.
Wins always come first.
Ava, we got some work
Okay,
to do.
actually, fun fact, I'm a catcher. In my freshman year, I learned that I didn't catch a bullpen, it's a bullpen. So we're slow learners. Minor things. Now I know it's the wins. More important, go first.
Yep.
Oh,
We didn't have a bullpen.
Oh,
We had a,
Right.
over there next to the cornfield.
Oh, true. Okay. But go warm up over there somewhere.
Didn't we pretty much have just one pitcher?
Yeah. Yeah.
one?
Well, Jill pitched for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
thought
then
Jill
Cindy-
fought.
Then Cindy Conley
And then
pitched.
Cindy.
Denise,
then,
Love
her,
it.
then her sister Lynn.
yeah, but Denise Cohen
don't
pitched a
remember.
little bit, didn't
I forgot that
well,
he's
she
calling.
had to.
Forgot her.
I was a catcher too, Ava. I remember a lot of people throwing balls
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah. Shortstop
It'll happen
catcher,
tomorrow.
Shortstop catcher, outfield. You had to do it all.
At the same time.
Wherever you say.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, I love this so much. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question to Grieb, and then I'm gonna let Ava ask her second question. So, you've had obviously a long career, Grieb, at Bucknell. So, what were some of your most rewarding moments with your time here in Lewisburg, and even with this group that's on the call? Things that maybe a funny story, maybe something that just meant a lot to you, anything in between.
So coaching as long as I have, I think it's the relationships that I've had with my players. Now, I haven't talked to Betsy and Patty in forever, but like, I feel like we could just go out to dinner and just pick right up. Steph, I saw
Exactly.
at the Hall of Fame, like,
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and I try and follow as many of my former players on Facebook and see their kids. And I see pictures. That's how I knew Steph was golfing so much, because I see it on Facebook. So that's what's really meaningful, is the relationships that I've had over the years. And, you know, I'm really sad that this group never got the kind of, well, we weren't in a conference, I don't think then. Then we got into the ECC, and then we got to the Patriot League. So, you know, that's hard. We didn't really have anything to play for, because, you know, we had lost like 5 or 6 times in the finals before we finally won it in '97. And, you know, that was a huge moment for me to finally win a championship and then to go into the Hall of Fame. And I was so touched by the number of players that I had back. It was, I mean, Steph was, it was like a thrill for me. My parents were there. It was just very, very touching. So that memory will always live on.
All right, Ava, question number 2 for you.
All right. What advice do you have about networking and finding the right job after Bucknell?
What's your major?
I'm majoring in political science with a minor in legal studies.
Are you going to plan to go to law school or no?
Yes, that is the plan. It's scary. Yeah. Yeah, I have to prep for the LSAT right after finals. Break will be fun. Winter break will be fun, but I'm super excited. And if my schedule works out through senior year, I will also have a minor in American history.
Wow, cool.
So, Steph?
Well, I mean, I guess it's good to know where you want to go. And it's also good to recognize that you may not actually know how you're actually going to. So just keep an open mind and make whatever connections you can, because you just never know which connection will be that. I mean, just the way Betsy talked about how we found out about sports, right? I know this person who knows this person who does this thing. I mean, that's the way the world works, right? And now, to be fair, we can do things like this electronically that, you know, back in 1978, I mean, if you had told me this in 1978, I would have said, what? That's baloney. So, you know, but take advantage of all those opportunities to make those connections. You just don't know, you know, how you're going to get to that place you're hoping to be. And you may actually end up in a completely different place, and that'll be great. So just to keep that open mind and not, you know, limit yourself.
I know I had to switch one of my classes at the beginning of the semester because of just like certain requirements that I needed. And I'm taking a class called Remaking Public Education. And it goes all into like the policy and the reforms focused around the public education system in the United States. And it is so fascinating. And I'm considering doing like education reform, like moving on. It is so interesting. And I didn't know how in depth the public education system is and how effective a good quality teacher and a good quality learning environment means to we mainly focus on like elementary school and middle schools, but definitely just making connections. I know my professor, she's one of my favorite now, and I never really considered anything with education, so I can definitely relate to that.
I'll pretty much just say the same thing that Steph did. I ended up in a completely different career than I started in. Never would have guessed that I ended up there. They didn't even have a computer science major when I was at Bucknell. So I had taken a couple of classes just along the way as an engineer, and less than 5 years after I got out of school, within probably 2 or 3 years, I was completely out of engineering and completely into IT. Never looked back. And one of my 2 sons had a similar experience where he went into school for one thing, came out something completely different. And, you know, went in as a mechanical engineer, and now he works with a firm that does high-speed trading, high-speed trading. So anyway, just as Steph said, be open to what comes your way. Don't have tunnel vision as to where you're going. And if a good opportunity comes up, something you're interested in, as you said about education, if something strikes your fancy, go after it.
For sure. Betsy?
So I'm going to kind of build on that too with my experience. So when I was at Bucknell, I was an economics major. So just a good old liberal arts degree, so economics major. I get out, didn't have like a professional job at first, worked at a bunch of restaurants. I didn't need to go to Bucknell to work at a bunch of restaurants, but I was around food and I was interested in that. So I went back to school and got a nutrition degree and then became a dietitian. So from economics to nutrition, and that's what my career has been. But yeah, so you really never know. Well, you do know. I mean, Steph knew. She went to be a doctor, so she knew. But in my case, I didn't. And I just was in an area and I'm like, oh, this sounds good. I think I'm going to give this a shot. And I did, And when you're young, you can do that. You don't have responsibilities, if you don't have children, if you're not married, if it doesn't matter where you live, all that kind of stuff, you can do so many things.
Yeah, with the exception of things that need some kind of specialized degree, like an MD or like your Juris Doctorate. So many careers don't require any particular kind of education.
Just problem solving skills, I mean, all that kind of stuff will work in a lot of different areas.
Right.
I'll just add me adding something into the academic realm. That's funny. So I had a college coach who said to me, I went for health, physical education, and recreation. And she said to me, so what are you taking your electives in? And I said, I'll take this. She goes, take them all in one thing, get a minor, because you're not going to coach till you're 65. So I stopped coaching in 98 and had a minor in math and then actually transitioned over here into the business. And so I've been doing this. If I didn't have the math degree, I probably wouldn't be here.
Just so inspiring, Grieb. I need to be in your back pocket all the time. Which is fine because we're getting to advice soon. So I have 2 questions left, and I want to be kind of conscious of everyone's time. But this next question is just to tell us a little bit about who was the teammate you admired the most throughout your career at Bucknell, and just give us a little bit of the why. Yeah. Who's someone as a teammate that you admired, and kind of just tell us about them a little bit. And then look at Grieb. I love it.
Do I need to hold this up so you can see who your teammates were?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who did you want to start?
You.
Oh.
Volunteer if you're not ready.
No, I'm totally ready. I mean, for me, that's a really easy question. I would say Jill Henry without a question.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Jill transferred in from Union College.
Yeah.
And she, started at Bucknell as a sophomore, and she was a hometown gal. Yeah, we didn't even mention Jill as the hometown people, right?
And her dad taught here.
And her dad was one of my physics professors, exactly.
Yeah.
And God bless her. She was a real competitor, and I just really enjoyed, getting to know her. We were roommates for 1 year.
She played 3 sports.
She played 3 sports. She was incredible. I was like, I never met anybody like her.
Yeah.
Really, really remarkable.
Yep.
A lot of fun too, to be fair. We had a lot of fun together.
Do you have someone?
Pressure's on.
Yeah, no, I know. I saw the question and I said, gosh, I don't really know. Jill certainly would be up there, I would say. But I guess I don't really have anybody that jumps out in my mind that that I admired. I mean, I had a good time with everyone, but I wouldn't say there was anybody in particular that I admired. Sorry.
That's okay. Betsy, do you have anyone?
Well, it's kind of a hard question. First off, I was thinking Jill, for all the reasons that Steph said. But there was other people that kind of had the intenseness that Jill had, and the really hardworking, and just like, she was so intense in every sport she played. Like, I played field hockey with her, and if there was a ball on the field, she was getting it. There was nobody else. Jill was getting that ball, and that's how she played softball. I don't really remember, her as a basketball player, but I remember her as a softball player.
Equally as good. Yeah, she was equally as good.
She was just so intense, but that personality trait is in a lot of people. There was other people I played field hockey with that were like that. Jolly, I don't know if you guys remembered her. Jen Ridden, she was another, and just like, you're not going to find their names as like superstars or in the record books, but they were just really like hard-nosed good players. Obviously Steph, God, she was 4.0. She was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun together. Worked really hard. I think when you're in the moment, when you're 20 years old and you look around, you don't really notice like, oh wow, I wish I was like that person. But then when you're older and you look back and you're able to have hindsight, you notice the personality traits that people have and how they are. So yeah.
Love that. Okay, so I have one more question, and it's for Grieb as well, so don't be shy. And I'll preface this by saying, as the new head coach, I obviously realize that there's a lot of big shoes to fill in this role, especially with Grieb on the call. But this one's for me, of just what advice would you give to me as the new head coach of the program? And you can kind of take it however you want to take it, but what advice do you have moving forward and kind of leading this charge of this special group of young women?
So I think I might have said this in your interview. Use me as a resource. That's the first thing. I mean, I have a lot of alums that we can reach out to. Second of all, you need to recruit Pennsylvania. Look at your roster. I am a firm believer there's so many good athletes. We had New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. And then, especially with these guys, we had we had 3 local. We had Jill, Dawn Stroud, and Kay Schwartz. You got it. And then other years we had Jenny Snyder, Fink, Sharon Nichols. If you want any kind of local press, you got to get these local kids. We've had the Minersville kids. Yingling was from Pottsville. You get a lot more publicity, and if you get some local interest.
Love that.
You got to get a staff.
It would be lovely to have some assistance.
Yeah, well, you can do it without, because we didn't always have assistants, but
More with less.
we did. But
do you want to come out of retirement of softball and just
no.
That's
Kids have changed.
That's selfish.
We're wild. I'm kidding.
They are wild.
Yes, we are.
They're wild. Thank you, Grieb.
Yeah. You'll do fine.
Yeah, thank you. Steph, do you have anything? You look deep in thought.
I mean, I look back on, Betsy mentioned that, we were 18, 20-year-old kids. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 20, I basically knew everything. And, it turns out I didn't. But I mean, I think the things that I remember, and God bless you, Grieb, we gave you a hard time. The thing that I remember learning is that you needed to play by the rules. And I remember one time in particular, Grieb had a rule that you had to be at practice the day before a game. if you wanted to start that game. And I got inducted into Phi Beta Kappa my senior year, and I had to miss a practice. God damn it, she did not start me that next game because that was her rule. And I'm like, Grieb, for God's sakes, I got inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. You weren't at practice. And I was like, you know what? You're right. That was the rule. I wasn't at practice. That's fair. Now I wasn't happy about it, but she was really firm. So, I mean, I think it's really important for young women, especially, young women especially, is like, you know, it's really good to have structure and to just be consistent. Like, these are the expectations. These are the expectations. These are the expectations, and just stick to your guns. And God bless you, Grieb, you did. I gave you a hard time about that. But I mean, you know, once again, I've said this a couple of times, you know, playing softball at Bucknell doesn't launch you into a career in softball, right? I mean, honestly, so you learn to play by the rules, you learn to improve some skills and how to, you know, facilitate and play together. I think those are really important skills Bucknell with.
Love that. Well said.
I'm still not over it, Grieb, for God's sake.
How long's it gonna take?
I don't know. Maybe forever. No, but that was good for you.
How many Phi Beta Kappa softball players have there been? That's a trivia question. I don't know the answer. I would say we have the only one on the call tonight.
Oh, on the call tonight. No, there's others. We have academic All-Americans.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a sorority still?
Phi Beta Kappa is only for liberal arts, by the way.
Because you were a 4-0, so you, yeah.
Fascinating.
You can't be in Phi Beta Kappa if you're with engineering degree.
Engineering. You had your own, did you guys have your own engineering?
Yeah, Tau Beta Pi, which nobody's ever heard of.
Those
I think Barksdale was in that.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, because I know my kids, my sons, both of them would have been eligible, but only one of them had a liberal arts degree. So he's Phi Beta Kappa. The other one is Tau Beta Pi.
Ava, they're honor societies.
Oh, I'm thinking of.
They're not sororities.
They're not sororities.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about.
No.
And I was wait,
Trust
I've
me.
never heard of these ones.
No. There weren't sororities that.
Oh,
Like Steph, didn't you have your own sorority?
We might have had our own, you know, tribe.
You had your own sorority. I do remember that.
I was like, oh, an engineering sorority. That sounds interesting.
No.
Ignore me.
No.
Terrie, I could not believe you remembered. Once again, Terrie, when I was 20, I knew everything.
I know. Trust me, I know.
Oh.
Patty, did you have some advice?
I'd say I really don't. Now, I don't have any kind of recollection of you being any kind of a disciplinarian, Terrie. Sorry. I really
You must have followed the rules. I didn't have to discipline you.
maybe. I'm thinking back and I'm listening to that story and saying, really? Was that the same coach I had? I imagine it must be hard when you're a young coach to draw a line between yourself and the players.
Yeah.
I gotta believe and my guess is you're not 23, that was what you were, right, Terrie? 23?
Actually, I started at 22.
22. So I would have been 20, I think, and you were 22.
Abby Yarmus was the same age as me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
yeah. Imagine that. You're coaching, you were the same age.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I thought of it. So I guess you never you must have never punished me for anything, or if you did, I don't remember.
Did any of your players ever ask you to go buy beer for them?
No. Steph had her own fake ID.
I remember Steph and her Iron City Light. Wasn't that what it was?
Wait, wasn't the drinking age 18 when we were there or no?
No. Not in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Where I grew up. Oh, that's right. I was above drinking age in my home state, and then I got to Bucknell and I was under drinking age. That's right. Okay.
Right. So Betsy, I think you bring up a good point because, you know, sometimes we would drive into New York. And I think the drinking age was less than 21 then, Terry.
18.
It was
I'm
it was
just
18
saying.
it was
18.
18 in New Jersey, which is where I was from. So
I'm just
I
saying,
was surprised.
there
That's a
were
3-hour
opportunities.
drive.
And you took advantage of those opportunities.
So what's the drinking age now? Is it still 21?
21.
Okay.
Oh man, you guys are a trip. You're a trip.
Betsy,
Betsy,
thanks for bringing that up.
No, I just, you know, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was a thing. It's still a thing.
Mm. Are you laughing at us, Eva?
I could never just be like, hey, coach, would you ever? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
I hope you know.
That's what I'm just trying to
I
picture
didn't
what
go
would
buy beer
happen.
for him. I did not go buy beer for them.
I'm just trying to picture like the response or like, are you okay? Do we need to have some meetings?
At a different time.
No.
The response was no.
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 That's fair. I can see why it would be no.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a very logical and mature response to have.
If you'd asked me, I would have said she would have done it.
I didn't do
See,
that.
Patty, this is why you don't know that she was a disciplinarian.
Apparently, yeah. I would have thought.
I just want to ask Steph a couple questions. Steph, do you remember the cat in the toilet
Yes.
and the microwave?
Yes.
What?
I
At
wondered if
Jill's
these
house.
things would
Microwave
come
in the
up.
toilet or the cat in the microwave?
Cat in the microwave, cat in the toilet.
Got it.
What do you guys do with cats?
I think this
We didn't
call is
really like
going
cats.
south quick.
This is
Do you,
taking.
do you remember Steph throwing up out the back window of the station wagon we were driving in? Fake
No.
throwing up out the. You remember we used to drive to the games in the station wagons,
Yeah.
and we had 2 of them in a row. And every time we got to a stoplight, somebody would jump out. I remember us putting banana peels on the underneath the wiper blades of the car behind us. And then Steph pretended she was getting sick in the back, and so she chewed up like a whole bunch of ice and put some other stuff in her mouth. And we rolled down the window of the station wagon in the back, and all of a sudden she like pretends she's retching, and then she goes, bleh! And she spits everything out onto the road. And the
Look at Eva.
and the thing behind the car behind us being our other station wagon does this huge swerve to avoid this blob in the road.
See, Steph was not an angel.
We didn't have internet back then. Come on, guys.
I know. No internet, no cell phone. It was different. It was
Right. There was nothing to do. There was nothing to do in the car. Nothing to do.
Yeah.
At all. Except fake throwing up out the back.
We didn't even have headphones for anything, like, you know.
No.
Right.
No,
We
nothing.
did it, yeah.
Nothing.
Thinking out loud.
Off you go.
Tough times, Ava. These were tough times.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would survive like a road trip without like my pre-game like hype playlist.
We had
It's
to
on
hype ourselves.
Spotify. You can follow it.
We had Steph going up out the back window. That was our
There you
entertainment.
go.
Or sometimes on the really long ones, going to North Carolina, we make TikToks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't travel to North Carolina.
No, we went to
Yeah.
Bloomsburg and Juniata.
I think we went to East Stroudsburg one time.
That was a
long.
big trip. Big trip.
It was.
Did we play any games out of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we went to New York that one time. Or was that basketball?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember going to
It
New York.
runs, it's a big
It must
farm.
have been basketball. You know what, Betsy? I don't think we played softball outside of the state of PA.
I don't think we did.
No,
either.
we went to I think we went to Towson, didn't we?
Not when I was there.
Ooh.
I don't know,
Doesn't
Todd,
ring
you
the
got the
bell.
record book. and can you
We
do
went,
it?
I tell you where we went to. We went to Scranton.
Yeah, I do remember going to Scranton.
You guys are a mess.
Yeah, we did. I do remember going to Scranton.
All right, I'll give you the skinny real quick, and then we got to wrap this call up so you guys don't have to take all night on our phone here. First year one, you were at York, at Susquehanna. Boy, that was a long trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Kutztown, at Juniata, at Mansfield.
Okay.
In 1980, you went to F&M. You went to Lafayette, Kutztown, Bloomsburg, Lehigh. Let's see here. 82, you were at Ithaca.
Oh, New York.
There you go.
That's it, New York.
That was after
See,
I was
told you
gone.
You went to New York.
I was
You went
gone by then.
You went to Ryder in New Jersey,
That's New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Bloomsburg, and in 83, Juniata, York, Lehigh, and the rest of them were home or in the tournament.
Are you telling me we never went to East Stroudsburg? I could swear we went to East Stroudsburg one
Maybe
year.
it was in a different sport.
Maybe it was what?
Volleyball.
Maybe. I thought it was softball, but maybe
Maybe
not.
it was your freshman year.
That could be too.
Yeah.
The road trips were the best, though.
Yes, you were at East Stroudsburg in 81.
All right,
Oh, there you go.
I win.
You were at Wilkes and also East Stroudsburg that year.
Wow.
Okay. The road trips were the
Steel-
best
like
part,
a
best
steel
part of
trap
the
up
whole
there,
season.
Patty.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Good for you. My husband's from East Stroudsburg, kind of that area. So that's awesome. But I did want to just say thank you guys so much for being on this call. You guys are this was so fun to be a part of, and I really appreciate the insight and just hearing a little bit more about your experiences. I'm sure Ava could echo, and Ava does have a nice little conditioning session tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So I do want to be conscious of her time because she probably wants to go to bed.
It's bedtime, ladies.
So I just can't say enough I just feel so lucky and blessed to be a part of this. And thank you guys for jumping on, and I can't wait to do more of these. And yeah, I'm going to kick it back to Todd.
All right, well, thanks. And first, I want to thank Ava again for taking the time out to participate tonight. Wish you the best of luck with the rest of this semester, and then keep your fingers crossed that this spring you are out on that field with me, competing in games and having a great
Everything.
So
Everything is crossed.
We're keeping our fingers crossed for that. And then ladies, thanks so much for being on the call and lending the insight of, how the program started, and the women in today's program have to realize how lucky they are, and how far it has come and how far women's athletics has come as a whole for everybody. So thank you for what you did while you were here and what you've done since. As alumni to the program, the Bucknell softball program could not do and be what it is without the support that we get from the alumni. So thank you for that. And then for those of you at home that watched tonight, thanks for doing so, and go Bison.